This is the LEGO Star Wars 2005 Clone Scout Walker, set number 7250 with 108 pieces. When it originally released, it was just $10. That's about $16 adjusted for inflation, which doesn't seem that bad, but if you really want one today, it's going to cost you at least $100 sealed in box, so not quite as cheap as it seems. Now, this, of course, was part of the original Revenge of the Sith wave and has some banger box art because of that. On the back of the box, it shows off some of the set's features and some alternate builds, including like this Scorpion style build, which is kind of cool. It also shows a couple of the other Kashyyyk sets on the back, which is nice. Now, cutting into this one, on the inside, you're going to find a couple of unnumbered bags and your instruction manual. Inside of that instruction manual, mostly normal stuff, but in the back, of course, it shows off a lot of the other 2005 sets, which is just always cool to see, and I'll be reviewing all of those on my channel in 2025 here, so make sure you get subscribed. Our lone minifig in this set is the 91st Mobile Reconnaissance Corps Clone Trooper, or as the box states, simply a Clone Trooper. They didn't really go into detail back in the early days on which Clone Troopers were which, but this one looks fairly nice for a 2005 Clone Trooper. It's far from the most accurate thing in the world. They've definitely made a better version of this since, but for being a classic, for being a first of its kind, for being the top quality of its time, I think it fits. Certainly if this were released today, obviously there'd be some differing opinions there. He's got the classic megaphone blaster with the blue stud to signify, of course, that he is one of the good guys. Not for long, but he is in this case, I think. I like it. I do, of course, wish there were more figures in a set like this, but for $10 in 2005, can you complain? Absolutely not. The build for this ATRT, or Clone Scout Walker, is unsurprisingly very simple. A lot of bricks, very little Technic, very little like extra detail or extra stickers that you would see on a modern version of something like this, like we did back in 2019. So it's just fairly simple and pleasing to look at, although it just lacks a lot of the detail that you might want. But yeah, there's obviously it's a classic set. It just exudes the classic vibe. It does have a printed panel piece on the very front for the windscreen, which is great. That's something that has forever since basically been a sticker or just brick built, and so seeing it printed there is just way better. It looks way cleaner, matches everything perfectly. You've got the seating area for your 91st Reconnaissance Corps Trooper here, so we'll take his weapon off. We will sit him down, and I remember as a kid, I would always try to get his hands to line up with the handlebars, which is possible. It's just a bit of a pain to do, but there you go. You can get his hands to actually hold on to the handlebars there, and I think it looks quite nice with him there. And what you'll notice with your Clone Trooper there is that, yeah, this is oversized. It's got to be one of the most commonly criticized things about a specific LEGO vehicle, like ever. There have been a couple versions that were fairly accurately scaled, but those were only ever released as parts of bigger sets like the Clone Turbo Tank, and so you never really get a standalone ATRT that's been a proper scale. It's never been something that like super bothered me, maybe because I grew up with this. This was one of those sets that I had back in 2005, but it certainly is something that is objectively wrong, and if, you know, it's something you're looking for, you're not getting that here, but you're not wrong in wanting that. You've got this little antenna at the back, which I always like because it was the gray on gray. Just thought that looked especially clean, and then I didn't forget about his weapon. There is a little spot that you can actually put the weapon for your Clone Trooper on the side of the ATRT, so I always thought that was really dope. Loved placing that there. Obviously, you can do it on either side as you please. Now, when it comes to the movement of this walker and inherently the playability of it, you have a lot at your disposal. There's not like a shooting function on this though, which is kind of surprising. Obviously, they didn't really have the stud shooters and flick-fire missiles and things for quite a while after this, but it's just something that feels missing, but also like helps keep the model look very clean compared to some of the newer ones. Anyway, there's a lot you can do. So this whole front panel can move on its own. You can move the whole thing left and right and just shoot it whatever you like, just like that. You can also hold the front panel down and move the weapon independent of that panel, and so then it can look like that, which I think looks kind of awkward, but you can do that too, so that's an option. And then this bottom weapon can also move around a little bit because it's on a clip on the bottom of that bar piece. So you got a surprising amount of movement there, I would say, for a set in 2005, and it's fairly stable. It's not something that's going to snap off if you move it too fast. Everything feels fairly strong. This one can also move forward and back if you really want. It is more so a side effect of just the way that it's built, I think, but still very nice that all of this moves, and for a set that's as old as it is, it's not as weak as you would imagine. I think the legs suffer a little bit more depending on the position that you put them in, so I've got them kind of leaning back here, but you can also lean it forward by one little bit and it'll fall forward. So you can see it might have some issues there. Now if we put the legs a little bit more forward and then do that, even worse. So you kind of run into an issue with the posability here, where you'll find that it's nice, it feels nice, it looks nice, it feels like you can do a lot of different things, but when you do most things on this clone Scout Walker, it will just fall over. There's really only a few good poses you can really hit with this one, and it's not going to fall over. It does help if you have studs to attach it to. I do like that you can get it in kind of a running pose without having studs, but if you have it attached to studs, it's a lot easier on like a base plate. It's a lot easier to pose this thing and do whatever you'd like with it. So it has full range of motion. As you can see, the legs kick. I always loved as a kid that these were able to go so far back like this and do whatever you like. It feels like it's swimming basically, but you know, you had that full range of motion. It just was hard to make use of a lot of it because it would fall over. It felt like relatively easily, but I don't think it's really that bad. To me, this is another set where if you don't have a lot of nostalgia for it, or you don't like 2005 Lego Star Wars, then it's a pretty easy one to pass up. There have been better versions since. There will probably be better versions in the future. There's a better version of the figure. There's just not a lot of reasons to want to buy this set outside of nostalgia, which isn't necessarily bad, but it does tell you that this just wasn't the best version of this thing that ever came out. So let me know what you think about it in the comments, but I'm sure given the price range, this was many people's first set back in 2005 that kind of grew up in that era. It just would have been one that I think a lot of kids would have seen a lot of appeal in. So if you guys enjoyed, hit the like button, and you can check out more 2005 Lego Star Wars set reviews on the end screen now.